If I were to say leeches, what pops in your mind? I picture this, wiggly, worm like creature that is sucking the blood out of my body. I know it's a nasty picture. But I propose that we all have leeches in our life. Now, maybe not the predatory organism that we're picturing, but I think that there are obstacles that get in the way of our success. I think there's obstacles or leeches that suck motivation and energy from our lives. I know I have. So I guess the purpose today is I ask you to join me on this journey as we discussed what leeches might you have in your life that are holding you back, that are drawing energy and motivation away from what you really should be focusing on. So today, the leeches of our life are the topic of our conversation. Thanks for joining Eli's Echo. I'm your host, Eli Albalos. Now, apologize, folks. The first thing I'm going to start with is I am sick. I have been very, very busy this month. I've been dreading September. It's been busy at work, and I knew this month was coming. It's just that time of year where it's budget management, performance review, and at the same time, I was writing my dissertation, my first chapter that's done, which is a huge milestone. But then I also had to travel to USC, so I did a 3-day immersion for school. So I apologize. I'm going to try and do this all in one shot. And so I'm going to try and step away from the mic when I'm coughing. I'm popping a cough drop. So those of you that are watching my YouTube, that's what this is. But it's been a crazy month. And so unfortunately, I think the busyness got a hold of me. But as I start this, the one thing I'm going to start with is tell me something good. I did a podcast on this before. I think I mentioned it. I started something with my teams at work where I want them to tell me something good on a Monday morning. I'm in a team meeting and literally just open it up to the floor, and I hear all kinds of great things. It's just a really unique exercise. I encourage you all to try it out. But my tell you something good is not only did I finish my dissertation, my chapter 1 of my dissertation this month, but yesterday I finished my latest version of my book to my publisher, and that was huge. I think I'm gonna have to talk. I'm gonna have to do a podcast separately just about the book because wow, it's been really insane and crazy. But I think all that stress kind of caught up to me, which is why I'm sick. But it's been a couple weeks since I did a podcast, so I figured I'd make this work, and so I apologize if I sound awful, and I'll do my best not to cough in everybody's ear, but that's just how things are right now. Okay, so leeches. I don't know why this is something that's really top of mind for me and always kind of stays top of mind. Maybe it's because I have so many things going on that I feel draw my attention, and I think I'm sure you all do too. But I think leeches is the great way to explain it, because literally, I had you envision a picture of this leech that's sucking the blood from your body, right? So basically you have something that's irritating, that's taking something out of your body, taking your focus away from other things. And that's how I see the leeches of our life, and it could be a to-do list, right? Maybe there's just another way to think about it is this crazy to-do list that you have that you've been putting off. Maybe it's managing your bills, right? We all have that time of month we have to sit down and look at our bills. But maybe it's also establishing a budget, right? So maybe you have this leech in your life that's like, man, regardless of what you're doing, you could be watching TV, trying to relax. You could be at work. Maybe you're commuting to work or trying to spend time with family, and that leech reminds you, hey, I'm here, right? So that idea of like, oh, I needed to be budget planning. Or maybe it's like, there's a phone call. Maybe it's, having to make a phone call to insurance, right? We all love to call insurance companies, right? But maybe there's just one phone call for a claim that you need to do, and it's just bugging you, and you keep putting it off and putting it off. Maybe it's spring, fall cleaning, right? You have something in the garage. There's a dump run you need to do. Or, there's the ceiling fan that needs to get cleaned or whatever. But there's something there that's nagging at you, whatever your thing is. But I think is what ends up happening is the reason why I call them leeches again is they kind of remind you out of nowhere that they're there. But I think the other thing that gets me is that they pile up, right? So you have all these, some of them are little things like low hanging fruit. It's like, oh, I don't want to make that phone call today. Oh, I don't want to go to that pile of bills. I know I need to organize it. I'm just going to put it off. But next thing you know, it just adds up. And I think it gets to a point where it's almost debilitating, where, those things really do sap energy. I've talked about, I talk about it in my book. Side note, because I've now finished my first version. Once I get that approved, I'll actually start bringing some of the content to these podcasts. Right now, I'm really careful about how much I share. But with that, the one thing I will share is that, believe it or not, it takes energy to not do something. Sounds funny, right? But like, if you're on a lazy day, think about it. Like, oh, I'm on a lazy day. Like it's a cold day, it's raining. I'm gonna curl up with a blanket, and you decide to sit there. But next thing you know, you're staring at the dishes or the clothes, or again, all these leeches pop in your mind. But you're telling yourself, no, I'm going to stay here. I've earned it. I am allowed to be here. I'm going to give this to myself. That is taking energy. It takes energy to not do something. So what's funny is the reason why I bring that up is when you talk about these leeches, they literally are sapping energy because you're not doing anything with them. They constantly irritate you. They constantly nag at you. They constantly remind you that I'm there. And by choosing not to do them, not only does their presence in your mind, like an earworm, take energy away, but then when you make the decision not to do something about it, it's also sucking energy. And so I think this is an interesting phenomenon to talk about because we all get so busy. And I know I'm super busy, but there are moments every now and then, every couple months, where like I put so much stuff off where like I feel it like as like this huge weight on my shoulders because I've put so many things off. And that, if you can imagine like that freeing moment, what that could do for you. And the reason I bring it up is because I think we all are motivated to do something else. I think that's ingrained in all of us. I think we always want something better. The hard part to wanting to take a next step to something, be it a job, company, business, relationship, is we have to foster up the motivation to make the decision to do it. And I think these leeches hold us back. These leeches are sacking our maximum amount of energy out of us. And so in a way, I feel like if we can address those leeches, get them out of your head, start tackling them, that'll start to free up energy to do other things. Right? Like I think there's a common phenomenon out there too, where folks are like, well, I know I want to do X. I know I want to start a business. I know I want my friends to look at me differently. I know I want this relationship. But there's always a but, right? But right now is not the right time. Right now is not the right time for me to start a business. But once I get X, once I get this degree, once I get this experience, once I get this class, I can do it. Right now is not the time for me to look for another job because of recession, because of the economy. But when the economy's better in another year, then I'll start looking. We all have these buts. We all have these what ifs. I think collectively all kind of connects, right? Where we have these leeches, and maybe some of these leeches are self-doubt. Maybe they are self-doubt because you have other things that you do need to take care of now in the moment. Maybe it's updating a resume to get that next job. And that's bugging you. And that's part of that next step of, I want to get another job, but if you were to, let's say, if that is your scenario, you want to find this other job and it's been nagging you to look at your resume because you know you have to get a good resume, but you've been putting it off. If you were to dedicate time to go, you know what, forget it. I'm going to spend 2 hours and I'm going to comb through my resume. I'm going to update my experience. I'm going to go on LinkedIn and see what people are looking for responsibilities. I'm going to tailor my resume. I'm going to sit down and acknowledge my experience, what I bring to the table as I craft my resume. I guarantee if that's been a leech for you, the minute you do that, a huge weight's going to be off your shoulders. And not only that, that process, I guarantee that process will open your eyes to go, why do I have to wait for a year? That process of documentation and collectively putting your thoughts on paper because you're taking care of that leech, you're taking care of that earworm, you're going to realize, no, I'm ready now. Why did I even worry about this? I'm going to start sending out resumes. And I know that might sound fanciful, but no, I've been through it. I know that literally today I went through this, right? I've been working on my book for weeks and I finally turned it in yesterday. And I had this laundry list of to-do list, one of which was getting updated documents to my bookkeeper for my business. And I've been putting it off. Literally 3 weeks, I get a weekly reminder in my email. Trust me, that's a leech. I see that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do it. I have to do it. I finally had, quote unquote, had time today to focus on it. Took me half hour and a weight was taken off my shoulders. It's like, why didn't I do this earlier? That was stupid. That was nothing. And I feel so much better for it. And now that freed up so much energy today. I'm like, oh, I'm going to send an email to my podcast guest that I have coming up. I'm going to look at this Riverside app to be able to do podcasts. Literally, it was like a roadblock was lifted and taken away. I think that's what leeches do for us, is it saps energy. So, some loose tips. Couple of things. One, for those that are on YouTube, I'm showing to the camera here, I got this device called Remarkable. Super cool. It's like a downplayed version of an iPad, but you can write on it and it feels like paper. And I love writing on things. And so this thing is cool. So if you see me looking down, I'm now using this to take notes. Remarkable. Really cool. Check it out. Pardon me. So some tips I came up with today on my Remarkable pad. One, make a list of your leeches. It might look like a to-do list, and maybe it is. Maybe your leeches are just to-do lists. You're like, I need to clean, I need to go drop off laundry, I need to go pick up laundry or dry cleaning, whatever the case may be. I need to go shopping. Write your list. Try not to make it specifically like a to-do list, but if that is your leech that's been bugging you, put it down like a dump run. I don't know about you all, but I collect trash, and every few months I have to go do a dump run. And sometimes it's 4 or 5 months and I'm like, dude, I gotta do a dump run. So whatever that list is, ask yourself, what's top of mind? What do I just gotta suck up and get done? That's your list. Write your list of your leeches that are sapping motivation and energy. Because I guarantee, A, it probably won't take as long to get rid of some of those as you think. B, you're going to feel so much better for it. So that's number one. Make a list of your leeches. Number two is, once you have it listed, prioritize your list. And so you can prioritize however you want. Prioritize by importance. Prioritize by low-hanging fruit. Prioritize by goals. But figure out for you, okay, if I'm going to prioritize on low-hanging fruit, meaning I can knock these out in a couple hours. And if you want to feel accomplished, do that. If you're worried about even starting, my advice is low-hanging fruit. They're quick ones. Do those, because then you'll get momentum going and you'll be inspired to keep going. But if you're my leeches, dude, are just big. I want a job. I want a business. I want financing. Great. Then make your goals. Maybe you prioritize by goals. Or maybe it's just importance. Whatever important means to you. Maybe it's like, I have this commitment to my wife, to my sons, to my job. That's going to be part of my leeches that's just really bugging me. And I know the minute I get that monkey off my back, man, I'm going to feel so much better. So that's number 2, prioritize. Number 3, and this is an account, sound interesting. Steady your resolve. What I mean is commit to resolving those leeches. You've written them down, step 1. You've prioritized step 2. Now it's actually committing to doing it, right? Don't just write them down and going, oh, well, this sucks. Forget it. Thanks, Eli's Echo. I'm done. I'm walking away. Like, no. Look at your list and go, okay, I am committing to tackling these leeches. Steady your resolve. I don't think people give enough credence to like making a commitment. You have to commit. So that's number 3. Steady your resolve to get those things done. Now, don't get me wrong. A, this is not kind of a to-do list. We all have leeches. So you might have to refresh your list now and then. And B, maybe what you want to do is big and it won't be done quick. But that's why you have to steady your resolve. Once you start, just let yourself, don't stop. Persevere. Number 4 is take action. Start. You got to start somewhere. So you've steadied your resolve. So that's how you make sure you're committing to it. But now, actions speak louder than words. Jump in and just take action. Pick one and go. All right, based on your prioritization, how you outlined it, just do it. Jump right in. Again, if it's super easy, to-do list, you're going to knock them out. If it's hard, take that one step forward. Start that action, right? That action begets more action. The minute you start going, you're going to realize you're going to start gaining momentum and you're going to want to keep on going. So just take action, commit to it. And number 5, the last one, is persevere. I talked about it when we talked about steadying your resolve. Number 5 is persevere. What I mean is it's going to be hard, right? It might be hard just starting. That might be the difficult part because these things have been sucking you dry. And so even that might be just a bit difficult. And not only that, depending on what you did write down and document for yourself, some of these might not be easy and you might hit stumbling blocks. But if you wrote down something that is just bugging you, for me, that's a big one, has been education. Like, I wanted my master's degree. I wanted my doctorate. And for years, I thought about it until I finally committed to doing it. Those are year-long commitments to do. So some of these things might be very difficult. Maybe it is starting a business. Maybe it is changing jobs because that alone in and of itself for you is going to be difficult. But you have to persevere when things get tough. Bear down, grit your teeth, and just keep going. Because I guarantee if this is something that is always in your mind as an earworm, you'll never be satisfied until you've run that thought through. I've talked about this before. I've mentioned it. People often look back on their lives. The things they regret are the things they didn't do, not the things they did do. Some of these leeches might be really big things for you that you just need to do for yourself. Then do it. But you're going to have to persevere. So there we go. Number 1, make a list of your leeches. Number 2, prioritize. Number 3, steady your resolve. Number 4, take action. And then number 5 is persevere. I appreciate the time you all spent with me, listening to me today, watching me on YouTube. Tell friends, share this content with other folks. You can find me on Spotify, Anchor, Apple. I do have this YouTube channel. Find me on Facebook. I also have lionconsolare.com and elisecho.com. You can find me on that. The last thing is, wherever you're at, be it Apple, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, hit a thumbs up button, hit a like button, whatever it says there. Drop a comment. Comments do help me. I appreciate it. And share some of this content if you think this would be worthwhile for someone else. Throw it to a friend. You never know who might be experiencing leeches in their life. And the last thing I'm going to start ending with, is tell someone that you love them. Call, pick up the phone, talk to a loved one, end the conversation with, I love you. That's it. Thank you all very much for listening to me. I'm your host, Eli.